What's up guys, Doe here, and today's video is going to be about chainblade builds, and it's going to be on two late game chainblade builds and a early game build, which I'll show later on, which is kind of odd, but whatever. Now before I do that, I want to say two things. The first is that I haven't really been playing chainblades a lot because they do not feel as fluid as they did before patch 0.8.0, which we're in 0.8.1, but it still feels the same. Anyway, they just don't feel like they used to me, and hopefully they'll get better in the future, which I'm pretty sure it will, but that's my feelings towards chainblades right now. And aside from that, I'm also a Epic Games Support creator, so if you want to, use my code OhDough in the store, it helps me out a ton. But anyway, let's get on with the video. So starting off with the late game builds, I want to say that if you want to use these builds, you have to be farming Reza, Koshai, and Scorchstone Hellion. That's how you get the gear for these builds, because I'm pretty sure that every single piece in this build is just from those behemoths. Now, the first build consists of the Hellion Chainblades with the Cruel Rift Strike special unlocked at level 8, and the Serrated Blades mod, which is unlocked at level 16 for your Chainblade Mastery. And then for my gear, I have the Scorchstone Hellion helmet, Koshai chest, Reza gloves, and Koshai feet. And for my lantern, I'm using the Koshai lantern, not because of the lifesteal, only because of the hold to cast, which is basically a tool to reposition your character, and it is very fun to use on chainblades. You basically have a ton of just gap closers. You feel like Genji with the chainblades, and it's pretty sick. Now, with this gear, I'm able to get +6 Etheric Attunement, is that how you say that? Etheric Attunement, Conduit, Cunning, Overpower, Predator, and Rage Hunter. So in this build, I have pretty much 4 really big damage dealing cells, and Conduit's attack speed, and Etheric Attunement gives you more lantern generation. Also, it reduces the instant cast cooldown for your lantern. So this is just a really good synergistic build. And like I said earlier, I'm playing this build because I want to feel like Genji from Overwatch. Like it's really fun to play chainblades at a really fast pace, and using this build can let you do that, because Cruel Rift Strike is basically a really nice iframe and a gap closer. And Koshai Lantern is kind of like an iframe as well, and it's also an even bigger gap closer. So you just have so much mobility, and you can get out of a lot of situations. And even if you're stuck in mid-animation for the chainblades, you can use the Koshai Lantern, hold the cast to get out of that animation and not get hit. So it's just really cool to do that, and if you are aware of what you're doing, you can make this build super fast paced and just really fun to play. For my second build, I have again the Hellion Chainblades with the same mod, same special, and for my gear, I have the Reza helmet, Koshai chest, Koshai gloves, and Koshai feet. We got a lot of Koshai this time, and that's because Koshai gear is pretty good. It's actually really good. And for my lantern, I swapped from Koshai's Bloom to Drask's Eye because it's just the best in slot lantern for DPS. Your hold cast is very accurate and reliable, and your instant cast is just more damage. So it's just the best lantern for overall damage in the game right now. And for my perks, I'm able to get +6 Etheric Attunement, Conduit, Evasive Fury this time, Overpower, Predator, and Rage Hunter. So just notice that the cell I changed, I swapped out my gear to get rid of Cunning and to go with Evasive Fury. And the reason for that is because this build already has a lot of crit with the Serrated Blades mod, which makes it so your blade attacks have a chance to make your next swinging blades a critical strike. And all that means is doing left clicks or light attacks makes it so you have a chance to get a proc, and getting a proc makes it so your combo, which is swinging blades, will be a critical strike, and it's just a lot of damage, so it's a good thing to do. So because of that, I swapped out Cunning for Evasive Fury, which is just more attack speed for dodging attacks, to get more light attacks in, to get more Serrated Blade procs. That's the reasoning. Hopefully that makes sense, but that's the reason behind that. And this build to me is probably my most favorite build for just overall like max DPS on chainblades. I like the way it plays, I like the way it just is right now, and like having all these perks is really good on most behemoths. This is a good build on most behemoths. And by the way, if you do not know, the Hellion Chainblades are pretty much the best in slot for the Chainblades in terms of damage. It's just the way it is. And if you need an explanation, the Chainblades, these Hellion Chainblades have +3 overpower as a stat, which no gear has that aside from Hellion weapons. And that stat is useful on every single behemoth. It has 2 power slots, which are, they have some of the best cells for power slots. It's crazy. And on top of that, you have the Unique Equip, which is a special, and that is the 10th hit in quick succession, deals 250 bonus damage and major blaze damage. And for Chainblades, you hit pretty fast, so that just makes it even better. So long story short, the Hellion Chainblades are cooler than sliced bread. That's just how it is. They're just really good, and you want to make them whenever you can. And honestly, the funny thing is apparently the Hellion Chainblades are actually they're so good that you can bring them against fire behemoths, and it's still going to be the best chainblade you can bring to that fight. because the next best option would be the Boreas Chainblades, which are Frost, but the Hellion Chainblades just have so much going for them that they kind of outclass the Boreas Chainblades, or at least they can if you play them right. So that is kind of funny to me, because in most cases, you do not want to bring the same element versus the same behemoth. What I mean by that is don't do the same element versus the same element. So don't do fire versus fire, frost versus frost. Don't do that. Try to avoid that as much as you can. But with the Hellion Chainblades, it doesn't really matter too much because they're just that good. They have so much going for them. Now, that's all that aside. Let's go ahead and focus on the last build, which is for beginners. Hey, look at me being all nice and whatnot. This build consists of, yet again, the Hellion Chainblades, but this time it's a bit different because you don't have as good cells, and your mods pretty much don't exist. So I'm using bare bones Chainblades. I got the Reaper's Dance special and no mod. For my gear, I have the Scorchstone, or not Scorchstone, I just have the Hellion helmet. It's like +5. My chest plate is going to be the Drask chest piece with the Nasher gloves and Nasher feet, and then Drask eye yet again. For farming this gear, I mostly didn't have to fight any of the higher up behemoths. I just fought Lesser Drask, Lesser Nasher, and then Drask, which are basically the lesser / baby behemoths of those variants. But some pieces I did have to fight Ragestall Nasher to get the actual parts I needed to upgrade my gear, which, by the way, I'll be making a video on how to actually get the parts you need to upgrade gear, because a lot of folks are asking me, hey, where do I get Scorch Scale? Where do I get these shards from? So I'm going to make a video trying to clarify that in the next couple of days, hopefully. And for anyone not to Hellion yet, you can actually swap out the helmet for the Drask helmet and the weapons for Boreas Chainblades. Those both work fine. It's just that this build's just better in general, because right now, if you want, go to the middleman and buy the Predator cell. Don't buy it with platinum. You don't have to do that. Buy it by dusting cells if you can, and get that +3 Predator cell, because it's a banger. All right, that's a good cell. You want to have it. It's pretty much best in slot in Dauntless right now. It's one of the best cells you can really get, because it's just constant damage if you don't get hit. Now, if you can't dodge that well, buy it anyway, because once you can dodge, you're gonna want it. Anyway, for the build, my perk summary is +6 Rage Hunter, +5 Overpower, +4 Aetheric Attunement, +3 Predator, +2 Sharpened, and +2 Tough. So I'm getting some pretty good perks. I got a pretty good perk economy going, and it's the best I can do with the cells I have. And by the way, if you want to get cells, I have a video on that, which I will leave a link to in like the top right-ish area. So if you don't know how cells work, watch that. It's super long, but it is pretty informative. Anywho, playing this build is pretty different than playing the other two builds, considering the fact that it's a early game build, and on top of that, you don't have the mod called Serrated Blades. Instead, you have no mods, depending on where you are, and I really suggest trying to go for the Blade Spin combo whenever a behemoth is sort of like sitting still, staggered, or just in a moment where you have like a good amount of time to get off the combo. And that combo is 3 light attacks, a hold heavy attack, and you can finish it with a light attack. I normally don't ever finish the combos. I wait like a second and I just go into something else, because finishing the combo takes forever and I just don't think it's worth it. And aside from the gear / perk differences, this build only differs from the other builds in the fact that it doesn't have the Serrated Blades mod, like I said, and you have the Reaper's Dance special, which I do not like, but you should know how to use it, and you can use it as a really quick iframe for the Chainblades, because by the way, Chainblades have a delayed iframe compared to other weapons right now. But the Q for the Chainblades is pretty much a very fast acting iframe, and it works like a dodge for other weapons. So use it to backflip off a behemoth and time it like you would a regular dodge. You can also use it to pull yourself towards a behemoth, and if you do it correctly, the initial pull will give you an iframe, by the way. So that's how you use this special, and that's how you play this build. And that is the end of this video, guys. If you liked it, be sure to leave a like, because it helps me out a ton. If you want to, leave a comment down below, and also, if you like this video, consider subscribing to the channel for more Dauntless content, because that's pretty much all I do right now. And also, I do stream on Twitch. I'm a Dauntless partner, and I'm pretty informative, and I am pretty decent at the game. I can pretty much showcase how the weapons work. I can do, like, weapon requests, all that kind of stuff. On top of that, I have my own flare. It's a Twitch subscriber incentive for the most part, though, so if you want it, a Twitch sub will get you it. And aside from that, be sure to use my code OhDough at the Epic Games Store. And if not my code, use somebody's code. Use Akeda, Rad. Any of the Dauntless partners would be a good option in my opinion, because they make content for the game, and that content can help you guys out. But regardless, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.